guys, welcome to Bridging the Realm. Today, my guest is the wonderful Jay from Aquarian Insight. Jay is a tarot reader who has been practicing the art of tarot since she was 18. In 2010, she opened up her own website, Aquarian Insight, and for the last 3 years, she has been providing guidance on her YouTube channel, Aquarian Insight, providing guidance readings for the collective, which has quickly gained popularity. Her work is dedicated to helping people step into their own power and have the experience they came here to live. I've known Jay I've followed her work for the last just over a year now, and I'll never forget the very first reading that I saw her give on her YouTube channel, which absolutely just floored me. The level of depth of her work is really incredible. It's something I really haven't seen in any other tarot reader out there. So I've wanted to have her here for a long time, and I'm really happy today to finally get her with me today. So Jay, welcome to Bridging the Realm.
Thank you, honey. I'm so honored. What a beautiful introduction. Very honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, like I said, I've been waiting for a long time, so I'm really excited to do this. I know you've been doing a lot of your own online like talks and stuff like that, but I haven't seen you do too much of like sessions like this with other people, so I think this will be quite interesting to do today. Okay, so first I wanted to start off with, well, let's start off with what is tarot to you, because a lot of people that I speak to kind of just think when I mention the word tarot or oracle readings or anything like that, they're like, oh, I don't want to know my future, don't want to know my future. So from your perspective, what is tarot to you?
I'm just going to straight out say it's probably beginning very controversially as soon as we get started in this. I think that's a very archaic form. I know tarot began as a game and all of that stuff if you look at the history of it. But in terms of what we do as tarot readers with clients, I think using it as a predictive tool is the least of what tarot can offer. I'm very big on using tarot, and each reader uses it their own way, and there's no right or wrong way. It's not a science, it's an art form. And some people use it purely, as you said, for future readings, like predictive readings. People like myself, and there are some other people that read like me, I bring my spiritual journey into it, that's the big deal for me. That it's an expression of my spiritual truths and the journey that I see myself on. And in that sense, it is a tool for empowerment and for authentic expression, for exploration of the self-realization. That is the tool. That is what tarot is very good at, because there's 78 cards in a standard tarot deck. We are all of those cards. So there's no good or bad, all of that stuff. It allows you to look at who you are. That, in a nutshell, is what I believe tarot is.
Yeah, wow, I love that explanation. And I have to say, I think that's why when I listen to your readings, I leave thinking, wow, that's really made a difference to me. I really have something to think about, whereas compared to a lot of other readings out there. And there's some really great ones, but I kind of feel like with other people, they tend to focus more on telling you what's going on in your life rather than making you think about it and why it's happening and trying to maybe change the patterns that you don't want in your life anymore. And I think, yeah, that's why one of the reasons why your ones are so powerful. And also the fact that you bring so much of your own stories to the readings, which makes it so much tangible, because you're actually able to relate to the story and put it in perspective of what the theory behind it is, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And every single reader is a filter for the messages that come through. I mean, I always say there's 3 parts to a tarot reading. 1 is the cards that come out. 2 is the reader, because I always see it like a radio frequency. So there's no higher or lower or darker or lighter vibration. It's just they're at a certain frequency. So we're going to get messages and read from where we are. And then the third aspect of that reading is going to be the person listening. I like my listeners or my clients to be an active part of their reading. Because especially if you're doing general readings on YouTube, which is what I do. And it took me 5 years to get my head around, how do you do that? Because I'd done personal readings, but I thought, how can you read for the collective when everyone is so unique? And we can put them into broad terms like Aquarius or Capricorn or, picking specific signs. But even within that if they pick their sun sign, if you look at a birth chart, where's so many different things. I mean, people's birth charts are unique to them, right? And we may resonate with different aspects of our birth chart. So it took me 5 years to get my head around that. But that was one of the reasons, because I don't want to just sit there and tell you what's going to happen. Why would we live? You would just pay a reader, right? And say, tell me what's going to happen next week, and just not live it. And we are here to live. We are here to experience. And so I bring that into the readings that I do as well.
Yeah, and I love that. I love the fact that you give people back the power, you know, to choose whether they want to, you know, even go through that or experience that in that sort of way, or maybe change the perception of it. And I love the how a lot of the times you talk about how the cards have, you know, sort of this high vibration and low vibration. You see them from both perspectives, and that for me is always, you know, like you said before, it's reflective of the people, the characters in us that we have, you know, the different archetypes and how we can be all these different people within just this one person. So I love how you integrate that, but we'll get into that a little bit later on in more detail. So let's go back to the beginning. And what was it that made you go into tarot in the first place? What drew you to that side of life?
I'm sure if someone was an astrologer, they'd look at my birth chart and say it was my Sag energy. They'd put it down to that. Which those people that don't know, Sagittarius is known for being the philosopher, you know, new experiences, learning, higher learning. And I think I was around 12, and I was back in the day, I'm quite an old girl here. I used to go to the library, and I didn't like any of the books. I was very advanced in my reading, and I didn't like reading. So I used to go over to the adult section and get books out on my mum's library card. And so I was looking at stuff there, and I had been exploring the supernatural. I was big into horror. I was like vampires since I was 5. So I was all into horror and supernatural. And I don't know how I came across a book by Linda Goodman on astrology. And I was only 12, and I picked it up. And I think, knowing the childhood that I had, I was very interested in learning about people. You know, I came from a kind of, and I wouldn't say, but very unpredictable adults in my life from a very young age. And so I guess it's natural now, looking back, why I wanted to understand people, to kind of gauge how I could react, or, you know, when they were more predictable, I guess, for me.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to me. And even at 12, I started noticing, oh my God, yeah, this person's like this and this person's like this. But I have to admit, from around after that, I got into religion as well. Not from a religious point of view, but from learning about religions. I come from a Sikh family, but I started reading about Christianity and Islam and, you know, all the religions out there. And so I declared myself an atheist at 14, 15. I was of the mindset, you can't say what you don't believe unless you know what you don't believe. And so part and parcel of that, I saw astrology, and even though it resonated with me, I come from a very religious family. And so I think it was my rebellious teenage years. It's like, no, I'm a rational thinker. I'm a scientist. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in any of this stuff. But I'm also very argumentative. Like, I would maybe like pedantic. I'd love having discussions and debates. And how can you debate with someone on whether something has, if you can, you know, has any feasibility if you don't know what you're talking about? So I did my research to have good arguments against people, but it never actually went. It never actually went for my life. Like, it would come in and out. And I learned like palmistry, runes, numerology. I studied all of it. And tarot was actually the last on the list. I think I was 18 when I got into tarot. And that was even, right, I'm going to see, you know, what this is. If they're just laminated pieces of card. And at that time, I was a member of the British Society of Psychical Research. Like, you get their newsletters. And they did these kinds of tests and, you know, paranormal tests and stuff. And I thought, well, I can do one myself. I'd try it out. And I was living, I was at university. So I'd moved in with my housemates, and they were my guinea pigs. So I try it out on them, and it worked. And it was like, oh, it was actually more than, you know, predicting the future. It was the fact that it resonated with people, because then they'd say, oh, can you read for my friend and stuff? And me, I just wanted more guinea pigs. So I was like, you know, it was a scientific experiment for me. So I would do it. And
the Aquarius nature in you.
Absolutely, right. And so I just went through people. And then by accident, if I ever wrote a book on my tarot journey, it would be called The Reluctant Tarot Card Reader. Like, I just kind of slipped and fell into it somehow. Because then someone said, moved into work. I think it was about a year later I was working, and someone at work said, oh, can you come around and do tarot readings for me and my friends for a dinner party? And I needed money. And I was like, all right, if someone's willing to pay me for it, I'll do it. And I went and read for complete strangers. And they put me inside in another little room. I remember I was only like 19 or something at the time. And I did the readings, and the rest is history. Like, you know, it just kind of stuck with me. So I always had it as a side gig, but I never actually saw it as what I did. And for a long time, I'll admit, there was that kind of cognitive dissonance between how can you do tarot and how can you be a rational thinker, which I do see myself as both.
Yeah, that separation of like, yeah, you can't be both. You have to be one or the other. Yeah, I get that a lot, and I still, to some extent, I'm kind of like, I'm spiritual, but I'm also, you know, doing this. I don't know how to combine them. Yeah, so I guess it's quite a skill to do that. Okay, so then what happened after that? Because you went into the corporate world more after that, didn't you? So you were working for a while as in the corporate world. I think in somewhere in central London, you were saying. So how did it unfold after that? How did you get to the, you know, to do tarot full time?
Well, what kind of happened for me is but you know what, I kind of see the trend now. I'm 40, I'll be 44 next month. So I kind of see the trend now in that when I was going to go to university to study, I was going to study law or journalism. Like that was what I wanted to get into. And even then, like I did an A-level in law, and I was like, this is not, even my law teacher said to me, because you're so creative and stuff. And I had a passion for it. I was very good at it, but I didn't do it. I ended up doing philosophy, because what was more intriguing to me was, why do people believe what they believe? Why are people the way that they are? And I had this fascination, which you could call very Aquarian, this fascination with people. And it wasn't just philosophy. Like I studied philosophy, sociology, psychology, political ideas, all of that stuff. It was also like serial killers. I was into serial killers. Like, you know, what makes them do this? Because I don't know. I would never go and kill someone, but I couldn't understand why they did it. So I had this kind of thirst to understand people. Like people became the puzzles that I wanted to solve. But yes, as you said, after I left university, I did a few odd jobs, but customer service, account management, I got into that. And that's how I saw it. I still did tarot on the side. I mean, I'd take my tarot deck in sometimes and we'd do readings, and I'd still get paid readings on the side, but it was never my focus. I was going to have a career in the corporate world. But then in 2000, I was about in my mid-20s, I got ill. I got ill with a chronic illness, and it took me down hard. I mean, I know the exact moment that it happened, which was around 4 PM on the 26th of August. And I've never been the same again since that. And it took me a while. But a lot of my philosophies, if you want to call them that, or core ideals, they come from that journey through chronic illness. Because I got ill, was it no, it was 2001, sorry, I was around 25. I got ill, and I didn't admit that I was ill because I was a positive thinker, you know, but not in the sense that, you know, very spiritual sense. I was a positive thinker in the sense of slap a smile in it. I was codependent, you know, everything. You could track it off the list. I had all of that going on for me. Just, I'm happy, I'm gonna take care of everything. I was involved in everyone's lives. And when I got ill, that changed. So it took me till 2003 to actually admit I was too ill to work. So I still used to keep going into work. And then I was ill. I was in bed. I was bedridden for about 7 years. I'd leave the house like 2 or 3 times a year, and that was for hospital appointments, or if I was lucky to go see a friend, they'd have to bundle me up and take me around there just to get me out of the house. But that changed everything. And that was, I think, where I'd done a lot of reading. Like I'd read all the Louise Hay's and the self-help stuff and the philosophy, but it didn't make sense to me. Like I thought it was fake, or I'd kind of started going off positive thinking at that time as well, because it didn't work. Because I went through so much guilt of, I did this to myself. I made myself ill. You know, which is one of the downsides of positive thinking. You become that police in your head, right? Policing all your thoughts, which I don't agree with now. But yeah, at the time, that's kind of how I got into corporate and then started on my spiritual path. But I don't think I even knew it was my spiritual journey then. It was just survival, right?
Yeah, it seemed like it slowly unraveled through all these things.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So do you remember like that defining moment where you said to yourself, okay, I'm actually going to do tarot readings like for real, like I'm going to do them full time? Was there a moment where you decided that, or was it just gradual kind of?
I think tarot's always been in my life, and right from the start, how I would explain it to people is, if they'd ask me about it, was that it's a Rorschach test for the soul, like a way to kind of gauge where you are, to think outside of the box. Because it's one thing when it's in your head, But especially I had a lot of social isolation. So tarot actually did become a bigger part of my life when I became ill, because I didn't have anyone to talk to. I had the cards to talk to. And so I'd pull them out. And I think that's why I have such an expansive range of meanings for my cards too, because you can't say the Three of Swords comes up and you'll hear people say that's a third party situation. But I'm not in I'm not in any party situation. I'm by myself in bed. You know, if you get the Three of Swords, so you have to get a deeper understanding of them. What does it mean? What is the core meaning of these cards? So for me, they were my companions. They allowed me to survive, to look at my journey, to look at my story, to understand where I was in any given moment, because there was a lot going on. And I think I did a lot of my shadow work during that period. I often say, now I can look back and I can say it was a gift. It was a gift. I got to spend 7 quality years with myself, with a torch, going through all, doing my shadow work, getting to know myself, going over every stupid thing that I've ever said, ever done. You know, why did you do this? Why did you say that? But then forgiving myself and learning to love myself through that, which it took a long time. And I didn't even realize I was doing it at the time. Now I can reflect back and think, wow, Jay, you were doing that. But I didn't know at the time I was doing that. It was just survival, like literally just survival.
Yeah. Wow.
But I don't think I answered your question, but the whole tarot thing, I think that's even now when I've been doing it for so long and I've been on YouTube for 3 years, I'm still not sure. I'm still not sure if tarot's, I mean, it's part of it, and I'm always open to something new. And I do see my journey evolving, like doing talks like this. I do see it evolving and bringing out more ways to empower people, because it's less about the tarot for me. That's a tool. And I use astrology as well because I love astrology. But they're just tools.
Yeah.
And so I'm always trying to add more tools to the kit, right? That how can we empower people? How can we talk about authentic expression through other means?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. And I love that because you incorporate so many things into your work, like you said, astrology, and you also now even provide guidance sessions, because people obviously they see the quality of your work, and you're not just a tarot reader, you're so much more than that. So I love how you kind of experiment with all these different things, and we're going to bring some of them in later on. But yeah, I really love that quality, and I think that's what makes it so much bigger, and you can apply it to your own life a lot more than just a regular tarot reading will give you. Yeah, which I really, really love. Okay, so I wanted to speak about a little bit about the actual tarot cards, and I think you mentioned it a little bit before about how the cards represent basically us. They're different representations of us. How has your thought about the cards and what they mean changed over time from the very beginning? Because obviously we all, I guess, start off as okay, these are just tarot cards, they just mean this and that. And then how have you seen your own reflection reflect the understanding of the cards?
So I'm going to say that's why I never point fingers at any readers. I was that reader that I would predict the future. I was actually quite prideful, if I'm going to be honest, and say, oh my God, I have like a 99% success rate or, prediction rate and stuff. Because people used to come and tell me and say, wow, that happened, Jay, that happened. And so I was that person. So, right at the beginning. And if someone came and said to me, oh, does he love me? Or what's going on with this person? I had no qualms. I'd pull the cards and say, oh my God, yeah, this is what's going on. And it wasn't until I developed my own spiritual beliefs and realized that it's not about destinations. And why do we need to know that? And we're not trusting ourselves. And like, for example, if you came to me and said, Jay, should I be in this relationship or not? I'd pull the cards and tell you. But who am I to decide that? We all come from different stories. And I think having lived that journey of illness, which so changed my perspective of the entire world and of life and relationships. And I realized that when I read the cards and give the yes, no, which I don't, now I say the cards never tell us what to do, ever tell us what to do. That is the reader, and I hold my hands up to that, I used to do that, that's the reader going by their perception. So say you wanted a work reading from me and you'd said, should I stay in this job or not? And it might show, oh my God, she's getting paid well, that, there's money coming in, there's security here. Me as Jay would think that looks good. And I'd say, yeah, stay there. But you that might not be what your path is. That maybe you could stay there, you'd get paid. It may become a gilded cage. It may that you don't grow then. Maybe you're meant for bigger things. Maybe it won't challenge you enough. And so now I don't give the yes, no. I state the energies as they are and will talk people through, how would you want to use that? Does that sound good to you or not? Because some people are like, that's boring. I don't care about the money. You know, I want something that challenges me, that where's, you know, if you get all pentacles in the tarot, that's going to be about the physical reality. Whereas wands is going to be more passion. I want to be inspired. I want to be passionate. I want to be creative. So it's understanding what the person needs and helping them to understand what they need. But the way that I view the tarot has changed is I've really understood that it is the journey. And if you look at the major arcana, which is, I don't know if anyone, the major cards, like from 0, the Fool, number 1, the Magician, those are the major arcanas. And that is our journey. Those are the big milestones, or the greater path of what our journey is. And then the suits, which would be the cups, the wands, the swords, the pentacles, that's more us, our day-to-day, you know, the energy that we bring. That's the micro, and where the major would be the macro. And we always have a choice. And I think that's how I've seen how we use it. I don't think I saw them as the energies being on such a spectrum before, which I do now. Now I see the energies being on a spectrum. So like you were saying before, you can higher or lower. And I've recently started saying that I don't like this higher lower, because it makes it sound, we're not, none of us are actually higher or lower than anyone else. Especially in my beliefs, because someone that we see as low vibration, they might be coming into our lives to help us reach a higher vibration. So then how can we look down on them? They're just playing a role in our lives to help us and have a greater, more expansive understanding. But yeah, I used to lock the cards in. Like I used to read reversals, which I don't read reversals at all now, because why should the cards lock you into that energy?
Yeah.
That's your choice. That's your choice to go to that end of the vibration or to another. So I've done most of the things. That's why I never criticize anyone, because I just think I used to do it. I understand. I just moved past it, or it's not where I am anymore.
Yeah, but I really like that with the high and the low vibration. I totally like get what you're saying. It's just what I really like about it is it allows you to see how one situation can have many different variations and ways through which you can look at it. So for example, you talk about challenges a lot, and fear, you know, fear is like one of the things that you talk about a lot, and how fear, you can see it either as something to teach you something, you know, as a challenge that you can learn from, or just something that you're afraid of, and it tells you that you can't do this and you can't do that. And I love how you're allowing people to expand their view on a situation and be able to look at it from all these different perspectives. So I think that's something that's really helped me as well, kind of just be able to go outside of my little box brain and be like, oh, okay, I can actually see how this could be different. So yeah, I love that. So what are some of your favorite cards? I know you don't exactly have any. I think you mentioned before the Tower or something is yeah, but tell me about the main ones that you know seem to get the most energy out of, or you know, the most meaning from, and why.
I love the Tower, and everyone knows that. Maybe that's my kind of contrarian nature as well, because most people despise the Tower. I remember back 80s, 90s, when they used to have horror movies, and you know, they'd pull tarot cards and it'd be like the death card, and it'd be like, you know, oh my God, someone's about to die, which death doesn't mean that. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about having so many readers now and tarot becoming so big, like on YouTube, is that people understand that it's not death. No one's about to die, or the death is more of a situation or a way of thinking or a behavioral pattern. But I personally believe the card that's taken its place is the Tower, because the Tower is a shocking change. And we as human beings are creatures of habit. And so when the Tower happens, you know, we don't like it. It doesn't matter. Even if we want that change, we don't want it, because it's like, it's not on my terms. Why is it coming through like this? I was safe there in that Tower. Why did it have to fall down? And so it's one of my favorite ones, because it frees us. It's very liberating energy, which if you look at the journey of the tarot, it liberates us from the devil. But I like all those kinds of cards. But people still don't get it. I was talking about the devil, and I love the devil card. That's another card that I love. And I had someone say, I'm unsubscribing, you're, you know, satanic or something. And it's like, it's not biblical. It's not that devil. It's our own personal devils that hold us back. Which could be addiction, which could be behavioral patterns, could be codependency, right? But anything that holds us back. So the Tower, that shocking change, allows us to move past that. And I guess if I look at it, most of the cards that I love are the shocking changes. Like Judgment. I love Judgment, because that's how I see my 7 years as being ill, which was the review. I did the life review of who am I? How did I get to this point? What have I done with my whole life? Which is what Judgment is. but then you make a judgment call. So I guess my favorite cards, all of them are about change. Because I believe change is that's all we can do, right? Is grow and change. And that's all we came here to do, to keep always growing, always changing. And so those are the cards that I love. The ones, if you want the opposite, I can tell you the ones that I had problems with when I first started reading was the Hierophant. And that was because it was about conformity. Yeah. And I was this Aquarian kind of conforming.
So Aquarian.
Yeah. Who the hell conforms? Why would you conform to anything? But I think with age, I kind of understood we all do conform to something. Even if you're a non-conformist, you then conform to the idea of non-conformity. You derive, you know, you have faith in that, and you derive stability and security from that. That's your rule book. And that's what the Hierophant represents, like our rule book. And some people pick religion, some people pick whatever, their family rules, traditions. That one I had a problem with, and Temperance. And that was just because I didn't understand it. It's a very difficult card, I think, to understand. But I've talked about it a lot because I've been doing a Sagittarius season challenge, and it's the card for Sagittarius. But that too, I was like, balance, like, you know, because I think I was a very extreme personality. So the idea of being patient, which is and I was like, no, I'm not very patient. It's like, you know, I just want to go do things. So those were the cards I personally had issues with, but I love them now.
Yeah, no, I also really love the Tower card. I think that's definitely one of my favorite ones. And because again, like you, I love change. I love, you know, the idea of being stuck somewhere for a long time is just literally like, no, I need change. Yeah, so I can totally see your point of view on that. So tell me about the main you've been doing it for such a long time. What have there been any patterns of main things that are coming up, like themes? So for example, I'm guessing a lot of people ask about their love life or their career. What are some of the main ones, and what have you kind of, is there anything that's changed in your own perception about these things that from the card readings themselves that you've been doing over time?
Yeah, one of the beautiful things that I love from getting to do so many readings as I do, because I'm a full-time reader Monday to Friday, is I see patterns. Like you see certain signs, things come up. But I think overall, like the larger picture for me is I didn't always do online readings, or now I do Skype call readings, or, you know, video readings, but I used to do face-to-face readings, which was kind of different. And then I was on a psychic call line. You know, I did that for about a year. And I think I knew the moment that switched is I just thought I can't do love readings anymore. I think within 1 hour, I had 4 clients, and 3 of them asked, does he love me? And one of them argued with me about it coming up. And straight after that call, I was like, switched it off. And I messaged the woman saying, thank you very much for this opportunity. I won't be doing this anymore. And I took it all to my own website then, because I thought, no, I want control over what I do. And yes, when I first started on YouTube, I would say the majority of the readings were love life readings. But one of the things I've noticed different trends, like you'll get younger people, and by young, I mean like people in their 20s, they're about what's my life purpose, what's my career. And then you'll get kind of some older people. I mean, it's not written in stone, but the general trend, they're the ones that, you know, they're focused on their careers and stuff. And now they're coming in saying, well, I have a relationship. Is that written on the cards for me? And so it's the opposite. You see people's priorities and how they change with age. When they get older, they don't care about it. They've probably made some money. They've got a career. And it's just, they don't want to share it with someone. They just want to share their lives with someone. Whereas I think the younger people are more, I've got time for a relationship afterwards. I'll go and let me get my career sorted out. Let me get my life path sorted out. So I see trends like that, but I'm very blessed in that I don't just I have a pretty even bag. Like people will come, I get people asking me stuff like, I've been having this repeat dream. Can you help me work through that? And so that's fun for me. It's fun for me. Even when I started YouTube, I did love readings. I think I started in October until August of the next year, not quite a year. I did love readings, like just to check it out. And I was going through a lot of love stuff myself. Like I had a breakup the year before. And so it was okay for me. But I think I got to around August and I was like, yeah, I can't do this. I can't, it was boring. Like, you know, I can't just come up and apply it when the cards are so much more. I think we do a disservice where you could tell the energy and people can apply it to anything. Like, you know, and that's one of the things that I always say, there's no spoon feeding on my channel. I will give you the energy, but then you decide what you want to do with it. Like, it's going to rain. I'll tell you it's going to rain. And so you're like, okay, I'm going to go out and enjoy, splash around in the puddles. Or it's like, right, yeah, I'll have a home day. I'll stay in today and do something else. So I see it more as a weather forecast. and allow people to look at it. But I like the range of readings that I do now, because I talk on so many topics. I don't just get people coming in for love readings.
Speaking about love, I've heard you, I remember in one of your readings once you said how, why people just looking at them in terms of love. So for example, the Two of Cups or something, it's got the two people, and you mentioned something, you said something like, it's quite sad that people think the only thing that's important in their life is having a partner, finding a partner. And that really struck me. I mean, I kind of knew that on a level, but when you said it, it was like, my God, yeah, it's so true, because it is sad that people can't see anything that's more important than just having someone, a partner with them. And tell me a bit more about that, and how do you see that?
Okay, I'll actually give an astrological example as well with that, if that's okay. So if you look at if anyone that knows astrology, we have 12 houses in our chart, right? And I keep looking at that thing at the back. That's what gave me the idea. It looks like it's not a birth chart, but it looks like one. Yeah. And so if you look at the first 6 houses, they're all about us. So, the first house is the I am, what we value, how we communicate and stuff, or where we feel at home, what our heart wills, or what we want to create from the heart, and our day-to-day routines. And a lot of people don't do that. They don't want to look at themselves. They don't want to spend time with themselves. And so what they do is they go straight to the 7th house. And it's an example, but I like to use the birth chart to kind of illustrate that. And the 7th house, for people that don't know, is the we. So the opposite house of Libra rules the 7th house, which is the we. That's where how you relate to people.
Yeah.
But they have no relationship with themselves. So what they do through that we energy is they try to determine their self-worth through the other person. They try to figure out, they don't know who they are. But it's like, so if you love me, I'm worth loving. If you hate me, oh my God, I'm a bad person. But they don't have any kind of story about themselves. They go solely by the other person. And, so they don't have any self-love. So unless somebody loves them, that's the only way they can feel loved. That's the only way they access that part of themselves. And so I don't think that's a healthy relationship where you're looking for the other person to give you everything. And, if they stay in your life, that's great. But what if they leave? And another example I've always used of that is, especially when I talk about love, I always have to say, I don't just mean romantic love. I mean all love. And love is the same. I think love is the same, whether it's your pet, your child, your lover, your parents. And people say, no, that's not. Like, I wouldn't sleep with my sister or something, like, that kind of energy, which fair enough. But that's not love. That's an expression of love. And yes, you express your love very differently with all those people. And we have different attachments to it, like intimacy or possession. Like we want to possess someone. You are mine. You're my boyfriend. You're my girlfriend. But love at its core, it's exactly the same. It's not different around anyone else. And so in the Two of Cups, the example that you gave is, I would say it was this, and especially in the love readings, and they would turn around and say, no, that's my twin flame, or that's my soulmate and whatever. And I'm like, hang on a second, it's a 2. All you've done is you found your cup, Ace of Cups, and you've matched it with someone else's cup. But what are you going to do with that now? And your relationship can be so much more. Please don't just see it as the be all and end all, that we have a connection, because it's what you do with that connection. And I believe that's the free will of both people that determines that. Because even though we all feel, we don't all react the same way to feelings. And one of the examples I give for the Two of Cups is, they might both have matching cups, especially in love, and be like, oh my God, I can't stop thinking about this person. We finish each other's sentences, that we like the same things. We feel the same way, we have a connection. So that's one person saying, this is my person. The other person might feel the same stuff, but say, I don't have time for this. I don't want someone to have that much power over me to make me feel that way. And then they don't want to be in that relationship. So they will pull away. So we don't all react the same way just because we feel the same way. And that's one of the reasons I don't answer questions like that. Like, how do they love me? Or how do they feel about me? And it's like, that doesn't matter. What are you going to do with how you feel? You react from where you come from, how you feel, what you want to do. And not even what you want to get from the other person, but what you want to express to the other person. And that kind of gets lost, I think, when all you want is a romantic partner. And trust me, I don't have anything wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong. We're not here to be alone. We are here to have partnerships and to be with people, but they can be very unhealthy when you want that person to fulfill all your needs, where it's your job to fulfill your needs. And that's a much healthier and more intimate relationship, I feel, where you have something of yourself to give, rather than just, I need you or I want you. It can be, this is my life, this is who I am, and I'm going to share all of me with you, which that's the kind of relationship I want.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree. It's kind of like, you know, make sure that you have your cup full first, and then you can, and then it's so full that it can overflow and you can give that love to someone else. But don't try to fill your cup through other people, because that's, yeah, I love that. And I have to say, I got into this stage at one point earlier, like this year, of, you know, listening to all these love readings, because they're so popular. You know, there's just so many of them on YouTube, and it's like one after the other, and you have this, you know, suggestion thing on YouTube, so it's like they're just playing one after the other. And I was like, okay, let me see. And I really got into it at one point. I was like, and then at one point I started, and I was like, wait, surely I can't be just, you know, like basing my whole life on just this tarot reading. And I was like, okay, so that means he feels like this about me. Oh, no, okay, maybe he feels like that about me because that reading said that. And then I noticed in myself at one point I was literally replacing what that tarot reader was saying for this person's actual feelings, when they haven't even told me how they feel. I was just assuming based on the reading that I'm hearing. So it's kind of like, no, this is like dangerous territory, because then you don't want to get into this whole thing like, oh, I know how they feel because this is what the tarot readers say, you know. It's like, no.
That actually happened with me with an ex, because a Capricorn, you know how cagey Capricorns are, they don't like anything to be said about them, and he was one of those, he thought I could read him really well. Now, one of the things that intrigued me about is I felt like I couldn't read him at all. And you have to, like, you know, you can probably understand, be doing what I do. I'm very good at understanding people, and, you know, I can read energies and all sorts of stuff. With him, I couldn't. And I know what it was. It's because I was invested in him. Like, I had a vested interest in him. And so I was just trying to be in the moment and experience it. And he said, oh my God, like, no. And I said, I won't use my woo-woo powers or anything to try to get information. I wouldn't do that. And he said, why wouldn't you? And I said, because it would mean so much more to me that you want to share something with me. I don't want to spy on you. I want you to open up, and it would matter to me that it matters to you enough to share that with me. Like, that's the world to me. If someone wants to tell me something, I don't want to go snooping around and, you know, pulling cards. Oh, how does he feel about me and stuff? I don't care. Like, you know, it matters more. If I knew someone loved me, that's very different from them saying, Jay, I love you. Like, you know, that means the world to you, that they opened up and they had the confidence and the desire to share that with you. So yeah, that's why I think we do ourselves a disservice. And I've had people crying, like begging me, saying, Jade, please just tell me, can you just please pull cards and tell me if he loves me? And I was like, sweetheart, it doesn't matter. I know it sounds harsh, but it doesn't matter. You have to understand why you love this person and what you're going to do about your emotions. And because, you know, it's then we're relying on them to feed us. Imagine if you rely on someone to feed you, then what if they go? Or so anything can happen, right? You know, we lose people all the time, excuse me. And then we're starving again. And I also believe in the law of attraction, and like attracts like. So if you're starving, you're probably going to attract a starving person as well, who doesn't have anything to give you. Or as you gave the example of the cup, if your cup's empty, you're going to meet someone with an empty cup, and then you're both trying to get each other to fill your cups, and it just won't do. It won't happen. Whereas I think grow your own crops, have this abundance, and then we can have a massive banquet together, like sharing everything that we have together. And that's much more important to me.
Yeah, totally. Wow, that's I think a lot of people are going to contribute for that. Talk about love, because everyone wants to talk about it. But tell me about some of the experimentals you've been doing, because I love the new things that you always come up with. It's so interesting, and I'm always like, oh wow, she's got something new. So first you have the elementals that you started doing, at least as far as I know. Tell me a bit about those and what made you do the elementals, because normally you do them according to the star sign. And now you do them elementals. What do they mean? How do you?
Okay, so one of the things I did start doing, it was a 4-week challenge. I set myself challenges. So I love challenges. That's how we grow, right? Trying new things. And it's okay if it doesn't work. It's not a failure. It's just I tried it, I didn't like it, or it didn't work. And so I think it was a couple of years ago. It was during Taurus season. I set myself a challenge of, for 4 weeks, I was going to do weekly readings for 12 of the signs. And that just ended up sticking. I did it for about a year, I think. It wasn't even just for that time. But how it kind of progressed Whereas I've noticed a lot of people, they lock themselves into, oh, I'm an Aquarius sun, or I'm a Virgo moon, or I'm a Sagittarius rising. Like they will just watch. Some people don't even do that. They just stick to their sun. But we are so much more than that. And one of the things that I've noticed more and more is people putting themselves in boxes, so like, you know, labels. And the labels don't mean the same thing to all of us. And, you know, and because, as I said before, we're so much more. I actually don't like, and that's something that's probably going to start. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do it yet. I don't like the way that it's the only way that we can do it at the moment, but put labels on like that. This is a message for Aquarius. And it doesn't have to be that way. And the energy that comes up, we can all use it. I read for all 12 signs when I do the monthlies. And this time around, I got so much out of Aries and Gemini, like, you know, and I don't really have those. That's not my sun, moon, or rising. But the message, it makes me think. And that's what I want to do, is like think about something like, where am I fighting this, or where am I doing that? And so with the elementals, I went in a totally different direction. And it's something that still a lot of people don't get. That's why I love the people that trusted me enough to try it, to kind of go with it. And so with the elementals, instead of looking at this is a message for Aquarius, I did this is a message from Air. And I do believe, what is Aquarius? What is Aquarius? Like in any meaningful way, what is Aquarius, or any sign, you know, Aries or Gemini? It's us. We are the ambassadors of those energies. We express that energy through our being. That's why we have those energies in our chart. And everyone has Aquarius somewhere. Even if there's nothing in their chart, they have it there. And so I thought, well, what if we got messages from those energies rather than for everyone? Like, and then we can all use them then. We can all have it, because I don't have a lot of water in my chart. And I might need help sometimes with the emotional stuff, you know, understanding how to feel. And that's been my own personal challenge I've set myself this year. And so I started doing those. And now I do messages from air, earth, fire, and water. And they each cover different aspects. Like, so air is going to be more logical thinking, water is more emotional, fire energy would be more inspirational, creative energy, action that we take. And earth is long term, because that's like bricks and mortar, what we're building in our world, the long term journeys that we're on. And I thought we can get help in those areas. So you get 4 different areas of reading for that. And we get to harness the energy that we all carry, but we're just not aware of. And it's amazing, because there was a lot of backlash against that, because people don't get it. They're like, but I'm an Aquarius, like, you know, and they'll watch just the air signs one. It's like, but if you're an Aquarius, you're probably good on the air energy. Like, you can channel that yourself. But how are you with water? How are you with fire? And that's why I've tried it. And I'm good now. A lot of people do try it, but a lot of people are still very resistant to it.
Yeah, no, I have to say, I in the beginning, I used to tend to watch only my, you know, air signs, because I've got double Aquarius, or I've got triple air. But after that, I started to watch all of them, and I was like, wow, that actually is it's so helpful, because just like you said, air comes to me naturally because I've got so much air in my chart. But again, water, I don't have any water. Earth, earth I have water, and fire I don't have much of. So it's been so helpful listening to those readings, because it's kind of like, it helps you to know how to manage those energies and how to bring them more into your life, like you said. So I found it so helpful to go through all of them. So, but yeah, it made me laugh when you said that a lot of people, you know, there was a backlash, because it just made me think, you know, people just don't like change, anything to do with change. People just despise change. It's like, no, we want the same thing over and over again.
But it happened this time as well. I do monthlies now. I don't do weeklies anymore for each of the signs, and I still do them. And that's probably something I'm gonna wean people off that too. But I had someone say this, but I don't get it. I'm confused. Is it going to be good or bad? Like, you know, and it's like, no, well, we don't know. There is no good or bad. It's how you use the energy. And that's another reason. It's not just getting the messages from those elements. It's also getting people to look at it in such a way that I can use this. I can use this in my life. That, you know, what have I been ignoring emotionally? That maybe explore that a little bit. Or, okay, so I wanted to do that. This might be a good week for me to get my notepad out, write something, make some notes, start the website, you know, that it's how we use it. And I think I don't like spoon feeding. And I think too many readings, they spoon feed us, like, you know, sorry, shit week for you, go off. And I ramble. My readings are very long, because I try to cover all the ways that we can go through stuff. But people are resistant. They just want to be told, like, I'm very lucky. I have a lot of people that are not like that. but I still find it here and there. And I think, okay, I can only do what I can do. And that's why I do all these extra talks and stuff to give context. Because even in a half-hour reading or 1 hour reading, I can only touch on certain topics. I can't expand on it. And so I do extra talks so people can understand it in the context of that, of like, okay, I'm getting this fear. I mean, how many times have you heard a reader say, be positive or let go of that? And it's like, great, how? Yeah. How do I let go of that? How do I exercise my choice? I don't understand. How do I have free will? And so those are extra topics that I like to talk about because we can use it. I believe everything is to be used. I mean, even on birth charts, like in astrology, they're all tools. And our birth chart's not a life sentence. It's not like, oh shit, I'm a Virgo moon, so I'm going to have to be that way. No, a Virgo moon, again, is on a spectrum. You could be one end of it, you could be the other end of it. But it's trying to get people to use stuff instead of life doesn't happen to you. And so I discourage questions like, you know, will this happen? Should I do this? And it's like, it's Google Maps. That's what your reading is. It's Google Maps. It's not going to tell you where to go, what to do. It can only show you where you are. You decide what's best for you from where you are. And I love that. That's why I love the elementals. So that's why I try to bring that in. But that's more the direction that I am going in my readings is how do we use it? How can we be empowered from this? What does it show me about me and my choices?
No, yeah. Oh, I love that. I really, really love that. Because I've kind of been, it's definitely made me think, go outside of the box as well, and made me think of different ways of, you know, seeing myself. Because like you said, you know, I feel like I was thinking about that yesterday. I was trying to, you know, just understand it in my mind. And I had this sudden insight and it just made me see. So for example, we have the signs and it's like, this is the first level, right? We have to, for us to master our own sign, that's like the first level that we have to go through. It's like, okay, I'm I'm an Aquarius and I can, the more I understand an Aquarian nature, what it's like, the better I, you know, can use this energy. And then the next level is, okay, well, how can I now integrate all the other signs into me? Because I know that I'm also all of these, we're all one, right? Essentially, we're like, come from the same source and all that. So for me, that was like, okay, so that's the next level. It's like, how do you expand to integrate more of these energies? So it's, and that's why I love like these elementals. I just find them so, oh, they're just so fascinating to me.
But that's the whole, you touched on it there. The whole reason they were born is I had this experience of unity consciousness of where I actually, and I the day it happened, the first day it happened is, I think I posted an Instagram story and I said, I feel like I could inhale and the whole world would exhale with me. Like I was starting to feel that. And it was so profound, that sense of what is going on? How can I feel like one with everyone? And it was when we'd had a death in the family. So, you know, I was around a lot of people like family and stuff, but I was just feeling connection, deep connection. And then it got bigger. And first I thought, okay, it's my family, we're all grieving together. Then it got bigger than that, then bigger than that. And I thought, oh my God, it's everyone and everything. Like, I'm connected to everything. But then if we're all connected, then why can't we help each other? Because we're all channeling energy all the time. Like anything that I can do, you can do. It's just, I've practiced like a muscle. I've got it, you know, that's how I do it. And so yes, unity consciousness and oneness, that is big in the direction that I've kind of changed directions in, because it must reflect that. If we're all one, then how the hell are we segregating ourselves into all these little boxes, right? Putting ourselves in these tiny little boxes, which, let's smash all the boxes open. That's my dream.
Totally, yeah, it's such an Aquarian thing. I go against the grain. But yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I just think it's, yeah, it's just time that people really stop placing themselves in boxes, because it really annoys me as well. It's like, and even such simple things like, you know, putting on your CV, whether you're this or you're that, and just the idea of trying to define yourself, it's like, no, I'm so much more than this, you know. But yeah. Okay, so I really want to talk about some of the main things that have been coming up, especially with your dailies, which I want you to explain as well, the daily readings, the challenges that you're doing. I've noticed one of the main thing that you've spoken about as well, and I've seen it kind of play out in a lot of in my own life. Fear is just such a big thing. Obviously, it's all the time, it's everywhere, but for some reason this year has been coming up a lot, and recently with your reading. So tell me first about the daily challenges that you're doing. What are they? And tell me a bit more about the fear that's been coming up recently with the last kind of 2 months.
Well, from the way the challenges came about, it's my day, it's my practice, it's my spiritual practice, and they're a reflection of what I do, and most of the work that I do is, and that is, I don't go by, like, say, January or March and stuff. I go by seasons.
Yeah.
And I don't believe, I think it was Steve Judd actually that said this, the planets, they don't compel us to do anything, they impel us. There's this, the energy's there. If you want to use it, you can, but they're not going to make us do stuff. You know, people are like, oh my God, it's this and stuff. And it's like, so it's how we integrate and use that energy. I have an uncle, Aquarian uncle, who will message me sometimes saying, but is that good or bad for Aquarius? And I'm like, I have to always say, uncle, no, it's not like that. It's, if you go with it, it's great. If you don't, if you resist it, it's going to be bad, right? This is how we experience it. Good or bad is a very subjective energy. It's not objective. It's not going to be good or bad for everyone. So what I do is, if it's like now it's Sagittarius season, I love the concepts of Sagittarius. And so I will use that season, that month, to focus on Sagittarian pursuits. Like, you know, I've ordered so many new books, and that it kind of happens anyway. I think if you allow yourself to feel it, you will feel it. It's not like you even consciously have to do it. But I try to bring conscious effort into it, or attention to it. And it started off in Virgo season. I've only been in the challenges like this for other people. And it came from that, because I do that personally, whatever season we're in. And by season, I mean where the sun is. Because obviously there's always other stuff going on, other energies coming in. You know, it's not just the sun by itself, everything's in that one sign. But I choose that as my focus. You know, it's shine a light. That's where it comes from. Shine a light on what's going on. So with Virgos, it's then the energies of that season. So for Virgo season, Virgo can be very self-critical and kind of get stuck in analysis paralysis. So let's not go there. Let's not go to that end of the spectrum. Let's consciously analyze, and let's do it with love, and we'll do it together. We'll explore this thing. So I would ask questions and we'll explore things. And then it moved to Libra season, which Libra season is all about relating to yourself and relationships to others. And then Scorpio. But I think a lot of the hangover at the moment for the fear is from Scorpio season. Scorpio is a very intense sign, very intense. And it's about death and rebirth. Now, I think the death aspect of it is we're afraid to let go of things. We're afraid for change. You know, and this is a time of great change, not just individually, but as a collective. I think we're going through massive shifts and changes, and all of us can feel it, whether we're, if you want to call it awake or not. I don't like that term, but you know, if we're not awake or not, but that whether you're consciously aware of what's happening astrologically or on a globe. I mean, you can see it on the news. You don't even have to be, you know, there's loads of changes going on. When we sense that, it's the fear of the unknown. Well, what's going to happen? You know, what's going to happen? And I think a lot of people, that there's great opportunities now to step into their life paths, or, you know, what they want to do. And it's very supported from the universal energies, if you believe in such things, that, you know, that I can go do this. But there's always that stage fright, right? You're frightened to kind of step out onto stage and to go and perform, to be all that you can be. And that's where the fear comes from. And in particular, I've been talking about it a lot recently, because I allowed questions for this Sagittarius season challenge, which was like, send me questions and we'll have a look at them. And a lot of people said, because Sagittarius is known for being a very kind of chill, fun, you know, adventurous sign. Let's go have some fun. Let's go have some adventure. And so I've only done like the beginning of the challenge at the moment. We're clearing away that fear, because how can you be adventurous if you're afraid to go on an adventure? Like, do you want an adventure in your house? Because you have to leave your house. Like, you know, if you're afraid to leave your house, you can't have that. I mean, you could. I used to have adventures when I couldn't leave my bed. But it's getting people out of that fear of doing anything, because you can't serve two masters. That's one of the things that I always say. And so one of the questions I get asked a lot, and it comes up almost identical. The questions is, Jay, I want growth and I want, you know, bigger experiences and stuff, but I want peace and happiness. So basically, if you translate that, it's like, I don't want to do anything uncomfortable, but I want to expand outside of my comfort zone. Contradiction. You can't do that.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I guess we really have to think about the type of things that we really want in the questions that we're asking in the first place. Yeah, totally. What are some of the other trends that you've seen over the last kind of few months that have been popping up?
I think this year, one of the shadow, you know, we do shadow work. That's a big one. The last couple of years, so 2017, 2018 was big on shadow work. And what I mean by that is we would retreat, you know, the retreat going in. And I'm not going to be in a relationship. I'm going to go and explore myself, or I'm going to go on this spiritual retreat and do whatever. Some people have tried to do that this year, but I think it hasn't worked, because we've now made that shadow work that we didn't want to do. Now that's become the new comfort zone. We're so comfortable with our own monsters that, you know, it's easy to go hang out in the shadows with them than it is that, okay, you did the shadow work, go outside now. You know, you need to go outside and go and practice what you learned. They're like, no, what? No, I'm still doing my shadow work. And it's like, no, that's become your new comfort zone. And so this year I see it's, yes, there's been a lot. We'll always be doing internal work, always, because we'll always pick up new issues or, you know, come up against, but we get better with the tools. And so one of the things, another thing why there's fear now is we have to take what we learned internally out into the world, the practice of it. We've done the theory. Now we're going into practice. And that's harder, right? It's the same with learning how to drive a car. You've got your instructor next to you, you're good. You might be a little afraid, but you get used to it. But then the first time you got your license and you're out driving by yourself, it's like, oh God, like, you know, what am I doing? So it is going to be frightening. We have stage fright because we're going out to do new things. And I think action is more the way. I get a lot of people that come to me and I'm on the spiritual path, I've done this. And I'm like, great, you've told me how you've detached. Now go reattach in a healthy way. And that's how I see it, the pendulum swinging. There is a time to, or the infinity symbol, that's another way that I see it, is we will go round here, which is to detach from, you know, and think, well, what does this mean for me? What is, you know, who am I? But then you have to take who you are into another situation, because that's going to show you more. Well, no, I need to tweak this, or I'm not that person anymore. And I think we learn who we are more by going back into situations. It's not just about having no difficulty, which I think when people talk about spirituality, they think it's all very zen. My mum always says it to me. She always says to me that I want to be like you. She goes, I want to, how spiritual you are. You always say chill, and you always like make sense of everything. And I said, I'm not, Mum. I said, it's not. If you want peace, don't go on the spiritual journey, because especially if you're looking for peace outside of yourself, and a lot of people go into spirituality to find peace. You will find inner peace eventually, but first you're going to see everything that's wrong. And that's where I think a lot of people fall off. They're like, screw this is like crap, it doesn't work and stuff. And it's working. It's showing you everything that's a block or a boundary to you finding that peace.
Yeah, totally. Wow. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with the whole idea of like taking action and experience. That's one thing that's from all the kind of astrology charts and everything I've been listening to as well. The whole idea about experiencing and taking action has really been coming up strongly. And yeah, I have to say I'm definitely one of those who are kind of like, oh yeah, I'm doing my shadow work still, I don't want to go out there. But that's why I love the elementals, because with the fire sign, for example, the fire signs, they're more about taking action, right? Taking action and the physical things that you're doing and manifesting. So that's why I love listening to this, because it's kind of like, okay, now that I've got the ideas in my head, which I always have as air sign, it's like, how do you put them into practice? You know, how do you actually tangibly make them happen? And yeah, it's really good to kind of challenge yourself with these things. And it's like, okay, now you have to go and do it. Yeah. So
but even with the elementals, if you look at the elements, excuse me, is so with air, and air signs very in their heads, I think there's a place for that. Like, absolutely, our mind is amazing. Like, you know, that's one of the things that's so amazing about human beings, is these minds that we have. But they're very good at problem solving if we give them that. But I think we don't, I always call it the team. We have this inner team of different, like the mind, the heart, you know, the inner child, the inner brat. You know, we have all of these different aspects of ourselves, and it's trying to get them all to work together. Now, if you had any kind of a team, you're not going to get, I don't know, someone who's great at the tech stuff to be going out to go get the coffees and shit, or someone who's great in front of the camera that you go figure out the emails, and they're like, I don't know how to use the computer. Like, do you know what I mean? You're going to use, and we don't use our team often for you know, the most empowered way. And so the head's great, but I think the heart, and a lot of us ignore our heart, you know, head over matter. No, that's why I love the elementals, because it gets us to look at that. Like, even fire signs you talked about, they can take action. They're very good at that. But a lot of the times, because of the focus is external, when it gets boring outside, what a lot of fire signs will do is they're out, they're gone. They're like, this is boring. That's what the Knight of Wands is known for. But if you show them their own fire and passion, and it's like, no, you carry that energy, you can make this more passionate. You can change the situation. You are the fire. We look for it a lot of times outside of ourselves. And that's what I love about the elementals as well.
Yeah, totally. So I can't finish this talk without talking about Aquarians. And I know not to say that anyone else is not important, but you are called Aquarian Insight, and I'm also an Aquarius. So I totally resonate with everything that you say and you do. And I have to ask, how do you see Aquarians? Because you've often described them as like the aliens, of this of the signs, and I definitely feel like that. I definitely feel that quality of like I've always felt very not alienated, but kind of like I see myself as part of the group, but also not part of the group. I always see myself as like the observer, the one that's observing everything, but not always part of it. So how do you see Aquarians energy exactly?
I've actually been asked quite a lot recently, excuse me, about the age of Aquarius as well, because, everyone's talking about the age of Aquarius. And I personally believe every Aquarian that is here right now, 18, 80, it doesn't matter, it's our job to usher in the age of Aquarius. Like, no matter what you've got there, your North Node, Saturn, whatever it might be, but we're here to, we resonate with that Aquarian energy, and it's our vibration that's going to put it out into the world. Aquarians, I think, like I would say, I'm trying to think, are there any other signs like that? No, we're not even the same as each other. That's the thing. Like, most signs you could say, oh, Leos are like this or whatever. I'm not saying that all the other signs are the same. But with Aquarians, we have two rulers. So we have Saturn and we have Uranus. And the thing with that is some people are more Saturnian. So you'll find some very traditional Aquarians, and some are more rebellious. Like, they carry that vibration. So there are other aspects, obviously, in your chart that will change that. But at its core, if I'm talking about Aquarius energy, we are the freaks. We are the aliens. We are the ones that say, no, we're not doing it like this.
Yeah.
We carry that tower energy, even though in the tower is actually Mars. It's the Fool. The Fool is actually Uranus, and that's one of the Aquarian cards. But we're so different. And I think that's our contradiction. Our contradiction is that we are about unity. We are about oneness. We are about the collective. And yet we are about individuality within that collective, that we are all one, but we're all different as well. And it's okay for you to be unique. I was actually talking about this with someone on a very mundane level. It might seem very strange to you, but all of this energy that's in Capricorn right now, it's going to shift into Aquarius. So I think we will be talking more about Aquarius because everything's going to shift. Like, Saturn will be in Aquarius next year, Jupiter will be in Aquarius, and then Pluto will be shifting, and that's going to be big for Aquarians. And I'm a 0 degrees Aquarius, and I used to think 0 degrees, like cusp, makes you not so Aquarian. And then I heard a lot of astrologers say, no, you hold the whole potential for that sign. It's not just that, oh, I'm kind of half Capricorn, half Aquarius. So I've never resonated. I'm not very traditional in that sense, or I have my own traditions. I think that's Aquarians. We have our own traditions. We'll do things with fixed signs. So we have patterns and stuff that we do, but they may not be like everyone else's. And so the mundane conversation I was having was about makeup. And how everyone looks the same these days, like, they're very similar trends. And I go, I wonder what happened in the age of Aquarius, because that's the lowest vibration of Aquarius, where we try to fit in. Well, we know we're freaks. Or if you want to put it another way, we know we're Superman, and we try to be Clark Kent. We want to be Clark Kent all the time, and we're hiding our Superman aspect. And it's like, Aquarius, you have these gifts because they're for the collective. They're not just for you. And the reason we have these gifts is because of the collective. I truly believe that, Aquarius would not be Aquarius without the 10 signs that come before it. And that's why people are our currency. I always say that. The more people we know, but you'll get Aquarians that are very hermit-like because it's too much effort for them. Like, no one understands me, so why should I speak? But it's like, Aquarius, you speak a different language, and it's for you to teach that language, to the world, to speak it. It's our cross to bear that, a lot of people don't understand us. But they will. There's a lot of Age of Aquarius stuff coming out. I've been talking a lot, and we're a future sign. I think it was Linda Goodman that said this. Aquarians are born either 100 years too early or 100 years too late. Like, we're never born in our era. And so the other thing I've referred to Aquarians as is the ancient future. We're from the ancient future. Like there's no such thing as that time. It falls away when you're talking about Aquarius. And it is a beautiful energy. And I don't think we fully understand it yet. I think Aquarians don't fully understand it. One of the basic, and it's one of those throwaway comments that people make, Aquarians are cold, that we're detached. We don't think and feel like other people. And I think it's very easy for non-Aquarians to say that we don't feel. And I always like to remind them, we are the water bearers. We have all of the emotions. That's the liquid that we carry. We carry the water. We have all of the emotions, but we have the ability to remove the emotion and to regard it. Now, some lower level Aquarians just say, no, I don't have that. I don't have emotions. Like, you know, they pride themselves on being cold. And it's like, you're not actually cold. You have all the emotions. How else do we understand humanity? Because we have all of that, because we understand human beings and such. But yeah, Age of Aquarius, that's kind of big. I don't think we're there yet, if that was going to be your next question. But it's transitional. It will be a transitional phase, and we are kind of headed in that direction. I do believe that.
Mm-hmm. And tell me about some of the challenges that you've been talking about, you've been trying to work through yourself as an Aquarian. I know you talk about this year you've been trying to bypass the mind and go straight to the heart and kind of, you know, be able to feel things. And that's one of my biggest challenges, because it's so hard to bypass the mind. So there's just so much going on in the mind. So how have you found it so far this year of trying to do that and understanding it?
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you asked that, because next week I've got to talk with someone else, and we're going to be talking about fate and, you know, finding your path. And I believe you can only find your path or your destiny through your heart. Now, what the hell does that mean for people that we're always in our heads, right? And so the way that I see it and how I started to understand it was, I saw the head as the King of Swords in the tarot, which is the one who has mastery. You could see him as the professor or the expert, right? And that's our minds. Our minds are the experts. But then the heart is the Page of Cups, like this child, innocent child, like the inner child. And you'd always go to the professor, right? You're always going to go to the professor and say, well, what should I do with this? But your head can only tell you what it knows. A professor can only tell you what he knows, what he's studied, or what he's understood or learned, or what his field of expertise.
Based on past experiences.
Exactly. And that's why I always say the swords are always historical. But if you go to a child, they don't know anything. They're going to tell you how they feel. They're going to say, oh, no, that's boring. Or, yeah, let's go do that. Like, you know, there's no filter for them. You know, especially if you get them very young. I have my nephew, 6 years old. He's like that. Like, he can't fake the funk. He's not going to. He doesn't like it, he doesn't like it. And we make ourselves do things, like, you know, and I was thinking, but that's not freedom. Then you're locking yourself into what you know. And not to kind of quote Socrates or anything, but the more I've learned, the more I know I don't know. I don't know anything. And what about the things I don't know that I don't know? Like, you know, that kind of stuff. So I went to my heart to see how I feel. And that was hard, because it was always like, oh, I think this. And it's like, no, Jay, how do you feel about it? And it's bizarre, because in doing that, I actually feel like my mind has gotten sharper. Like there's more information that's come through. And I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that at all. And how that came about was I wanted new experiences. So I never look for anything externally. So if I want a new experience, I will go to experiencing things differently, because it always comes from within. As within, so without. And so I thought, well, I always think about everything. Let's try feeling about everything. And that's why I started going to the heart. And I did. I started experiencing everything in a different way, because I started seeing, well, yeah, the head's, there were some situations that was surprising. My head was telling me there's nothing wrong here. It's fine. You know, it matches up to what we want. But the heart's like, I'm not feeling this. And that was bizarre, because I thought I'd never even used to listen to that voice. I just ignore it and keep doing what I'm, you know, think I'm supposed to be doing. But yeah, it does enhance it, because then think about it. If that kid came up to the professor and said, well, I feel like doing this, the professor may not have that knowledge but it would say, you know what? I know which book we can go and read to figure out how to do that. Or I know where we can go talk to this person, or I've got a colleague here, let's go do this. And that's how I think the beauty of it, that go to your heart, and the heart gives the instruction, and then the brain is the perfect person to make it happen, but not to come up with it. And that's the problem, I think, that we trust the mind to come up with we say ideas. I had an idea, but did you have an idea, or did you have a feeling that you wanted? Was it your intuition or that gut feeling that came up? And the head kind of, because we have the ego, we have all these different aspects, but I think that even that's very basic, say head and heart.
Yeah.
That's very basic thingy. I think we're much more than that. We have a whole massive team within us.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah. But yeah, I really like how I really like how you talk about your experiences throughout doing the card readings, because it makes them so much more tangible and able to understand them. And also it's interesting to learn about you, because obviously you've progressed a lot, how you've said, through doing all the readings and stuff. But yeah.
But that's all. But that's all that we can do. That's all all I can ever do is an I statement. Everything that I say is an I statement. Even if I read a book and I start telling you, all I'm telling you really is how I interpreted the idea or that. So I say everything's an I statement. And so all I have to bring to the table is my experience and my journey. Like, I don't have anything more than that. I can't tell you what to do. I can tell you what I would do in your shoes, but you're not me. We don't know what storms people have walked through, or what they've been through. Even if I'd been with you every moment from the day you were born, I wasn't in your head. I wasn't in your heart. I have 3 sisters. We're all very different, and we have the same upbringing, lived in the same house, went to the same schools, but we're all very different. And so I think by sharing our stories, like me sharing mine, you sharing yours, it helps us to think about our own stories. And am I comfortable expressing where I come from? And that's very Aquarian. I think I always say I'm trying to break the system from the inside, and that's the tarot system. And everything that I do, I try to break it from the inside, and free people, liberate people, that whoever you are, you're enough. Whoever you are, you're enough. It's cool for you to be you. It's cool for you to express who you are. Some people will love you, some people will hate you, but it doesn't matter. Your tribe will always find you, but only when you are authentically who you are meant to be. And that's the only freedom that counts. Us freedom loving Aquarians, the only freedom that really counts is the freedom to be who you are.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and the whole thing about authenticity. And I think that's what, when you give the readings, I guess that's the energy that comes across, of this pure authenticity and just knowing yourself, because you can tell yourself, like it's just the nature of how you do and you say things. It's just, this is the person who knows themselves, and it is coming from this true place of, this is my truth. And I love the fact that you say, the reading is how your energy, how you react to the reading. It's not the reading itself. I love that, again, you give that opportunity for people to decide for themselves, whether this is something really for them or it's not. So it's kind of, again, giving the power to the people. But tell me how you deal with critics and just haters altogether, because there are some people that, I mean, I don't even know why they do that, but it's just for the pure fact of, just trying to be nasty to someone else. How do you deal with that, and just criticism, because you do put a lot of your own personal stories into the reading, so that must be quite, how do you take that when people are a bit...
That's been another one of my challenges that you were saying about that, is to be more vulnerable. Right at the beginning, I was like, who am I to teach anyone anything? Like, do you know what I mean? That this is my journey, and I never felt like I could. And I still don't feel like I can tell people what to do. And that's my rule number 1. Like, I don't like to be told what to do. You don't know what I've been through. So I would never tell people that. I often say, they don't criticize me. It's a judgment. Let's be honest. People are making a judgment. And sometimes it's because I triggered something in them. Like, I said something that they're uncomfortable with, which might sound rude to some people, but I always say you're welcome if I triggered you, because I've done a lot of my own work has been through triggers. I've talked about this openly. I used to have a group of friends. We used to call it Trigger Happy, where we would trigger each other, but then we had a safe space to kind of explore our triggers together. Like, why did that trigger me and stuff? So triggers are a great way to look at what's bothering you. Like, as you said, like the messages and the reaction to them. Why did you react that way? But a lot of the critics, especially the people that criticize me, I think it's because they have their own black and white view of the world, and I don't fall within that. And so they think, and they're imposing that on the external world, which I never do that. If you don't like, it's fine. If I'm not for you, if you don't like what I do, perfectly fine. It doesn't have to do that. But it's where they take it as a judgment. I don't judge anyone. I don't think we can. I don't think we're able to judge anyone. Even our judgment is just an I statement. It's just, and one of the examples I gave is someone once said to me, I apologize, the reading was too long or something. And she said, don't apologize. It makes you sound codependent. And you know, I didn't respond. I just ignore it most of the time. But if you think about it, her I statement, it isn't, she can't talk about me. She's saying, when I hear you apologize, it makes me think of my experience with codependency, which is the I statement in what she said. So I'm very good at reading the I statements.
Yeah.
But people will criticize you sometimes. Other readers, I've had other readers tell me not to read the way that I read, not recently. I don't think they would dare now because everyone knows what I'm like. I'm quite blunt. But about 15 years ago, I've had people say, you can't do that. How can you not read for certain questions? Just do the love readings, Jay, or just tell them what their boyfriend, like if their boyfriend loves them or not. And I said, no, that goes against my ethics. You know, I'm not doing that. That's not, I don't believe that. I don't believe it's empowering. I'm not a drug dealer. I don't want to be doling out drugs and, you know, they come for their next fix. I'm not here for that. That's not. And I have an article, actually, I wrote that some years ago, I think 2012 or something. I wrote that article on my website. But yeah, I don't, how can they criticize me? They don't know me. And I think they just don't see it that way. They're on their own journey. They're on their own path. I'm not open to it. I mean, that's one of the, I think online etiquette should change, talking in a more general sense. And I've talked about this before, that even though you think it's YouTube or you think it's the internet, you're going into someone's house when you do that. So I've said, if you treat YouTube like a town or a block of flats, you've just walked into someone's flat if you go onto their channel. And you would not walk into someone's house, kick up your boots on their coffee table and start criticizing the free dinner you're about to get served. You can say, sorry, not for me, and leave. You've every right to do that. But you can't start saying, well, those dishes suck, and why did you make that? And you should have done it this way. But even the readers that used to criticize me, now they don't. They're like, no one reads like you, Jay. Like, you know, you're very different, or you're ahead of the curve in how you read. Which I guess I don't see myself as being ahead of the curve. I just do it because it's fun. Like, if I'm completely honest, that's maybe very Sagittarian of me. But I just think if it's fun, I'll do it. If it's passionate, if I get to grow. Because a lot of people tell me I'm doing it for them, and that's a nice byproduct, and I love it that other people get to come and grow. And from a selfish point of view, it'd be amazing if the whole world was empowered, right, and authentic, and that'd be an amazing place to live. But on a day-to-day thing, it's just, if it's fun for me, I'll do it. You can't say anything, you can't bully me or judge me or criticize me or even cajole me and flatter me into doing anything that I don't want to do.
Yeah, totally. It's so Aquarian. I love that. No, I do love that. And I think that's what makes the things that you do so different and original, and they have such a big impact. Because I mean, again, with for example, the challenges, I know you've mentioned before that not everyone watches them, but the ones that do, they have such a big impact on them, because, and you know, people, you can see it in the comments, people comment and stuff. So for me, it's like, that's what really makes a difference to me, because you're really giving me your all from that reading. You know, you're not just doing it just to deliver something for the sake of it, or because you're going to get likes on it and things like that, which so many people do now.
I actually got accused of that the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that I sugarcoat things. And I was like, oh, I actually liked it, because they said, oh, you sugarcoat stuff. And I was like, oh, that's nice. That's different. Because usually people say I'm very blunt and direct. And I thought, that's nice that this person thinks that, you know, I sugarcoat things. I don't really care. They wanted me to see the Three of Swords as a third party situation, and I just won't. Because it's not going to be that way for everyone. If that's your situation, that's your situation. But you know that anyway. But saying that I don't really focus on helping people, because I don't focus on anything outside of myself, but I get some amazing messages from people, and I'm only human. There are times where it's like hard work, or, you know, people aren't getting it, and the reactions that I did a live on Instagram a few weeks ago, and that I didn't really enjoy it. Like, I was feeling that a bit. And I have those moments where I think, look, Jade, you're good. You're on your spiritual journey. Just go off on your spiritual journey. Who cares? Leave YouTube. You don't have to do this shit. You go make money another way. You know, it's never about the money. Go do it. And then it's not bizarre, because that's how we are connected. Someone will send me a message. I haven't commented. I've been following you for 2 years. And because of you, because of what you said in your videos, I've now addressed this, or I've done this, or I've overcome this. And I think, no, my people are out there, like, you know, we're together. And I always message back and I tell them, you don't know how much I needed that message today. Thank you so much for sending me that. And so and that's not to say that, you know, I do it for people like that, but it shows me my people and that we're together, and I have a responsibility to my people and they have a responsibility to me. I do see us as squads. We come down in squads and we each have a different job of what we're taking care of, and that's my squad. So I have a responsibility to my squad.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think I heard you mention that in one of your readings recently. Again, it's like you know your people are out there, you know, and these are the ones that you show up for, which is so true. And it's like again, for me, like even doing this channel, I wouldn't have been able to do it unless I had the support of this group that I was with, who all started at the same time doing their own podcasts. So it was just, you know, you do realize how important it is to have that support of people who understand you. Not everyone will, this just because everyone has different interests and stuff, but the ones that do, that's just like, it's priceless. So
but that's interesting that you mentioned your group of people too, because you know when people say, yeah, but I can do whatever, the rest of the world is screwed, right? You know, or they're like this, and it's like, no, if you take care of yourself and you start shining your light out, it's bizarre how, you know, people talk about awakenings and stuff. Like in a group, you'll all start awakening or going in that direction because you have that impact. But some people will fall away because they're like, I'm not into that shit. And they're not. Yeah. They're not into that, right? And then they can go off and do what they need to do by themselves. But I do believe we come in as groups. So we come in to support or challenge each other or to help each other grow. And I have a support team. I've talked about them a lot, you know, other readers, people that aren't even into any of this kind of stuff. I don't just have spiritual people around me. I have people that they're atheists and they don't believe this, but they know what I do, and they know me, that I have to believe in tarot and stuff to do that. But they all help me. They all help support me, and we didn't come here to be alone. That's the biggest lesson of Aquarius, is that we are all one. We are all connected, and we can all help and support each other on our individual journeys.
Wow, totally. Wow. Well, this is a perfect way to end it. Thank you so much for your time. This has been, oh God, I mean, I can talk with you all day about all this stuff. I don't want to end it. Are there any last words or anything that you want to, oh yeah, how can people find you if they wanted to know more about you, have your readings? Aquarianinsight.com.
Yeah, aquarianinsight.com is the website. Aquarian Insight is the YouTube channel. And I think I'm the most active on Instagram, which is again Aquarian Insight. But all my links are in every single one of my videos on YouTube, or you can find it on the website, so aquarianinsight.com. But in terms of last words, I would just, my biggest thing right now is, if you feel it, and that's more than, we talked a lot about Aquarius, but the North Node in Cancer. If you don't love it, if your heart's not behind it, why are you doing it? Like, that's my biggest question that I say to people. Whether you're a very logical person or not, it's very easy to say. That's why there's loads of tools that I have on how we can address this stuff and get over the fear. But the core truth is that, you know, if you can't be who you are, if you can't do what you love to do, we're not here forever. Like, I've had plenty of deaths in my family this past year, and that's beautiful reminder that we're not here for long. So we may as well be here and make the most of it. And let's not just get stuck. Let's just be all that we can be, because we're so much. And that's my biggest thing about people, is I see people's power. I see their power. I just wish they would see it. So trust, and come on over and have some Aquarian Insight if you want to figure out your own power.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Jay. Thank you. Yeah, well, you guys heard it. You know where to find Jay on Aquarian Insight, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook as well, and your website. So yeah, well, thank you so much. It's been wonderful to have you, and hopefully we can catch up again soon and see, maybe in 2020, and see what's changed since then. What are the new trends?
I would love that, honey. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.